Shepherd's Loft, web design agency, and I'm here today with. So thank you for being here, Jesse. And before we really get started into the questions, just give us a little background about yourself.
Um, I'm Jesse Keefe. I'm with Cedar Springs Title. We're located in North Texas. I run the business with my wife, and my two children help as well. We've been in business for about 4 years, and yeah.
All right. Well, fantastic. Well, thank you again for being here. Uh, so this is um, this is your premiere live video, right? Today.
Yes, sir.
All right. So this first segment, we're going to talk about your business and the services that you offer, and so we were planning our discussion today, and there's something important that we should just let our audience know. Just kind of a little disclaimer right out of the box. So Cedar Springs is a title company. Um, you know, and I do marketing. I help you guys with your marketing, and so I look at things a little differently. So my questions may be more oriented towards marketing and Google Business Profiles, and so we're going to try to clarify the differences between what Google Business Profile looks for and the services or categories of services that Jesse provides. So there's four categories, and I'm just going to list them out to start. There's the actual title services, and then there's commercial real estate, which they're not actually real estate agents, but there's services that they provide that fall into the commercial real estate category on the Google Business Profile. And then there's also escrow services, and then real estate agency, which is, again, these are categories that are available on Google Business Profile. So we're going to talk about the services as it relates to these categories that Jesse provides. So the first one is just straight up title company, title services. Tell us about that, Jesse.
Yeah, so essentially, we do research on the property. We look through all of the public records as well as all of the judicial records. We look for tax liens, and we just confirm that the property has a clean and clear title. If it does not, then we go through the process of trying to figure out what's going on with it and then remedying the situation so that whoever is selling or purchasing the property can be confident that they're buying a property that's clean and clear.
All right. Um, so the is there are well, tell us about I'm gonna try to expand this a little bit. Uh, Tell us about the area and the regions that you provide this. Do you have any limitations on how far out you can provide these services?
So right now we're located in Texas. We can do the majority of Texas. There's a couple counties that are really small counties that we're not able to service, but right now we can service about 175 of the counties here in Texas. We're in the process of expanding into Oklahoma as well. We're just a couple of ways from being able to start offering our services there. We are located in North Texas, just north of the DFW Metroplex. And so we do a lot of work in this area, but we can service the majority of the state.
Oh, enough to know. Okay, well, so tell us about the services as they relate to commercial real estate.
So on the commercial side, we often do it's a couple fold. It kind of also rolls in with the escrow services that I think we're going to talk about in a moment. But essentially, the way that it works with commercial is a little bit different than your conventional residential real estate, as in they have different time periods for inspections and feasibility studies. There can be different triggering events. So, for example, they could put a certain amount of money into escrow with us, and that money would be released at certain times based on the process and where they are in the process. And so we work closely with, usually it's a broker, not an agent. And we work closely with the broker to make sure that all the timelines are kept track of as they go through the contract process. And so We work very closely with the broker and also the buyer and seller to make sure that they're getting all of the things complete that they need to get completed in the time frame that they need to have them done. And so we in a lot of ways help to manage the transaction when it comes to the commercial side of things. So
Okay, so I mean, this is, what you do is, a lot different from what I do. So I'm not my terminology. So what's a 1031 exchange intermediary coordinator coordination?
so yeah, so 1031 exchanges, that's actually a federal program. It's a federal program that allows you to avoid paying capital gains taxes whenever you're buying and selling real estate. So essentially, the way that it works is that if you were to sell a property that you had equity in, instead of putting those proceeds into your bank account, you would deposit them with an intermediary, with a 1031 exchange company. And then you have a certain amount of time to purchase another property. And then the intermediary will apply those funds to the new property. And so, since those funds never go through your personal bank account, you actually don't have to pay the capital gains taxes that you would generally have to pay whenever you buy or sell real estate.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense because I've heard about that process, but I didn't know you had to have an intermediary, involved in that. So that is actually fabulous to finally understand a little bit better. So what about land and ranch title services? Is this part of commercial or is that a different category?
Well, for for tax purposes, it's considered commercial. But whenever we're looking at it from a title perspective, it's much different. The land and ranch often is a little more difficult because we operate on a meets and bounds system. So instead of it being like a platted lot and block that you can go and see a square that's a certain size and track the history of that square, it could be, several different parcels of land that have been put together, cut apart, put together, cut apart. And so the title can be a little bit more complex whenever it's that way. It's also where you see like those old things where, it'll have corners marked with, the 8 foot oak tree that is 300 yards from the old railroad track, or different things like that. And so it can be a little crazy sometimes. Often with land and ranch, we also have to go back like further in time. So we'll often go all the way back to patent, which is interesting from a historical standpoint because you get to see how the property is, progressed over the years. But generally, with doing the land deals, sometimes it can take a little bit longer to get the title figured out and make sure that we have, every parcel combined. But those are my favorite. Yeah, that's where you get like you
Okay.
get the most interesting history, and you see some of the craziest stuff on some of those land deals because the way that people pass property between their families and things like that. So it can be really interesting.
Okay. Yeah, very historical, process, I can imagine. So, all right. So what about mineral rights? Is this a boring topic? I'm just like mineral rights. What happens in mineral right title search?
So that it's actually a little bit separate. We do a lot with minerals. My background is actually in oil and gas. That's where I started. I was in leasing and
Oh,
acquisition for a long time before I transitioned into real estate title. And so we still do a lot of mineral searches, especially in the rural areas. When you're in the cities, it's likely when you're buying and selling property that those minerals have already been severed from the property. So it's unusual for us to see minerals still attached to like a lot and block situation. But once again, talking about the farms and ranches, we'll oftentimes see minerals attached to that. And so, with that being said, like a standard title insurance policy doesn't cover the minerals. It only covers down to what they call plow depth. And so
Oh,
people will include the minerals as part of the deal, one way or the other. And so they want to confirm that they're actually buying, some sort of mineral rights. And so we'll go back through the records and, make sure, see when the minerals were severed from the surface or if they haven't been. And so that way we can do what we call a mineral ownership report. And we can not only tell you who owns the minerals, but all of the different people that own the minerals. So if you were ever to get into a drilling situation or to a situation where an oil and gas company came to offer to lease your land or lease your minerals, you would know exactly what you have so you can negotiate, et cetera. And so
okay.
we don't actually provide insurance on the minerals, but we do the mineral ownership reports for people very often.
All right. Wow, that's so I'm up at actually at my farm, my parents' farm in Tennessee, and I know that they had a lot for growing tobacco, but I think there was some kind of so it was interesting you mentioned the plow depth. So a tobacco lot, I guess, would be at plow depth, but you're supposed to plant like I think maybe 7 years or something. And if you don't, then you lose your lot. Once you lose your lot, you can't grow tobacco for the purpose of reselling. You could grow it for
Interesting.
personally or something. But yeah, I don't know.
That's a good
Yeah, so I
question.
find those that mineral rights actually quite interesting. But I think we lost our right to grow tobacco and sell it here. All the barns are still here, but you know, so
And,
could grow just
and
for fun, but
in East Texas, we also do timber leasing. So closer to Louisiana, there's a lot of timber that's grown there for paper and lumber, and so we also help with timber leasing as well. So.
so would second homes and vacation property also be considered kind of commercial? Or are we still in the same category here?
Yeah, it is. It depends on how you want to do it. So oftentimes we'll see packages where people put together a little portfolio of Airbnbs or things like that, and then whenever they sell those, that'll be through commercial process. Um, and also from the building side of things as well, building investment properties or developments that often uses a commercial like intermittent loan. And so it's a very similar process to your traditional mortgage. They still require the same title searches and the same title insurance, the lenders do, as you would in a traditional residential transaction. But the terms are different. Some of the documents that they need are different. And so it's a little nuanced, but it's very similar. So.
Okay. Okay, cool. All right. Well, so the next category of services we're going to talk about is the escrow services, and I'm kind of looking at some of the y- specific services. So I see commercial is mentioned, but then also account management um, as well. So maybe just kind of walk us through the differences there.
So we provide escrow services on every transaction that we do, generally. So the most simple form of that is whenever you go under contract to buy or sell property, whether it be residential or commercial, you oftentimes will put a certain amount of money into escrow, your earnest money deposit. And so at that point, that's whenever an escrow service begins. However, when it comes to like going back to the commercial sides of things, large loans. We've been hired on several occasions to do escrow services where the developer and the lender agree to deposit a certain amount of funds with us, and then they have milestones. And as they reach those milestones, we release the funds to them. And they do that because we're a fiduciary. So, our job is to make sure that the money is where it's supposed to be. And so it just creates some security for the developer and for the lender. So that way they know that the developer is using the money the way that they're supposed to use it. And the developer knows that the funds have been given to them. So, and then in addition to that, we also do escrow services for larger loan companies, where essentially, for legal purposes, they need the money to go through a settlement agency or a title company, before it is dispersed, to their clients. And so we also offer those services. Another aspect of this is, oftentimes we'll do a conventional loan, or a conventional sale of a property, and maybe there are some unpaid liens, maybe there are tax liens with the IRS, or maybe somebody has a credit card lien from, Capital One or something like that. And oftentimes it'll take a while for us to get all of those payoffs, but we are able to get, an estimate. And so people will deposit an estimate of what those payoffs will be, and we'll hold that money in escrow until we receive that information from the creditors, and then we pay the creditors. And we do that so that they can go ahead and close on the property, and we can go ahead and still, ensure that the title is all clean.
Oh, okay. Well, I think that kind of leads us into our last category, the real estate agency category. So there's several things here, like, so what is SBO closings?
SBO closings, I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
FSBO. Am I saying that correctly?
Oh, yeah, for sale by owner closings, yes.
Yeah, there we
So,
go. Okay.
yeah, so often, so we have lots of different, people are creative, when it comes to
Yeah.
financing. And so we'll often have, we'll do for sale by owners, and we'll also do wraps. As part of those services, we work with, the fee attorney that we have under retainer, to put together all of the paperwork, including, what we call in Texas as a deed of trust, commonly referred to as a mortgage. And so we also supply all of the loan paperwork for the seller. At that point, whenever the seller does a for sale by owner, they're conveying the property to the new buyer. However, they're retaining a right to it in trust. And so we help manage all of that. We can serve as the trustee. So if anything happened, you had to go to a foreclosure setting or something like that, we can assist with that as well. And so it's one of the types of transactions that we see, that come through our office.
Okay. There's a couple more. So it looks like there's some overlap as between the real estate and the commercial. So there's refinance closing services and residential, and then home and vacation, which we kind of talked about in the commercial category. But is there any differences as it relates to just real estate agencies?
Yeah, sure. So whenever we're looking or talking about refinance, that's generally in a situation that where we're working directly with your lender. The lender will reach out to us to get title, and we issue the title policy to the lender, not to the owner at that point. And then as far as the more conventional, whether that be an investment property or your homestead that you're buying, we work hand in hand with the real estate agents, to make sure that your whole closing process goes smoothly, to make sure that they get you into a good house. And so, yeah, we work, very close with real estate agents constantly, and with all the agencies around us, where they're our partners. So.
Okay. Well, awesome. So yeah, that starts to sound like what, like you're getting down to what's the actual challenge and the reason you're in business. So so what is the problem that all of your customers face? Is it, and I'm just going to kind of go out on a limb here, but is it the trust factor, like, you know, put some money up or put some money aside, and also until we can verify, hey, that what you're purchasing is valid or good, it's a good purchase. So I mean, does that kind of sound like what the actual problem that your customers are having, or
Yeah.
explain it in your own terms?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So essentially, yeah, that is exactly what the customers are worried about. The buying and selling real estate, purchasing real estate is often, for most people, either the largest or one of two of the largest transactions that somebody will ever make in their life. And, and so that can be very worrisome. You're signing your name to pay for something for 30 years usually. And so you want to make sure
Yeah.
that what you're signing up for is yours. You want to make sure that you're actually buying something that you get to have for the whole 30 years. And so that would be our number one goal, and the number one problem that we set out to solve for everybody is to give them security in the fact that they're making a sound purchase, and to provide insurance. So if something gets missed or there is a lien somewhere, something like that, your insurance policy then covers that. So we'll take care of it for you, so you don't have to worry about losing your property.
So I'm starting to imagine, you like when you said 30 years, when you're signing up for something for 30 years. So I mean, when customers come to you, I mean, how do they feel? Are they like super nervous and just scared, or what? I
We-
mean, like,
generally it's one of the two. So
one
generally
of the
we
two.
have customers that come in and they're so excited and they just sign everything really fast and they can't wait and they want to take pictures and celebrate, which we love to do. It's our favorite part of the transaction. But then you also have people that come in and they sign everything real slow, and you can just tell, like, man, their stomach is
I don't
turning
know.
and they're going through the paperwork. So we see it from both ways, and our job, is, like I said, to celebrate with those that want to celebrate, and if somebody needs reassurance and wants our reassurance, then we're there to provide that as well. And so that, but we
Well, that's
we
good.
we see all kinds of different things whenever it comes to the real estate transaction, and the same thing for the buyers. We have a lot of buyers that come in and are so excited to sell. And then we have some that are in a situation where they don't maybe want to sell, but they have to. Or we also
Mm.
see, estates where, somebody, this is my family home, but, in the will, my mom said that we have to sell it and split the proceeds between everybody. So we have to, that's what the will tells us to do. And so, they can be a little sad. And so, our job is to be here and to help them get through the transaction as smoothly as possible and get it closed.
That sounds good. So so let's just talk about, how, when you first talk to a customer, so just walk us through the process of just how you're able to help them. But really, I think, at this stage where, have you had a personal experience that you can speak from when you talk to your customers, while they're, going through this process? So what's your personal, you know, uh, experience behind all this?
Yeah, sure. So um, I have personal experience from my own real estate transactions, and then I also have personal experience from being on the escrow side and the title side of the real estate transactions. Uh, when we get a new order in or a new contract, it's really important that we reach out immediately. We try to call all of the parties involved, and personally introduce ourselves, let them know that we're a resource and that we're available for them to call us anytime they want. Um, as you know, whenever Michelle and I bought the most recent property that we bought, it was very much, we went under contract. We got an email that said they received our order, got an email that said, come sign paperwork. And then we got the paperwork in the mail a few days later. Like it was just, we went through the process and we were happy to make it through the process, but we didn't get a lot of information. And I can only imagine somebody that has never done it before, hasn't had the opportunity. And it's nerve wracking. Like I said, this is a very, very big purchase. And so we want to
Right.
always make sure that our customers know that we're available for them, that we're on their side, and that we're, working to make sure that everything is taken care of accordingly. We also have, from a title perspective, we work with a lot of families that their loved one has just passed away, and they're trying to figure out how the title is supposed to be split up. Perhaps they didn't leave a will, and so we work with the attorneys and the underwriters to make sure that all of the heirs and beneficiaries are accounted for and taken care of. And so it's really important that we reach out to them so that we can find out if there's any type of anything that we should know about, if there's anything specific that they're worried about, if there's anything that we need to be looking for. And so we really try to provide communication through the entire process. And like I said, I think a lot of that has to do from my own personal experience and feeling like there was a lack of communication throughout the process. And so
Right.
I might, overcompensate a little bit for that. I don't know. But
Right. Okay. All right. So, I mean, we're coming to the interview. This has been a great learning experience for me. I always enjoy just learning new things and kind of filling in the holes. So, if you were to give your customers a simple, 1, 2, 3, this is how we're gonna, engage with you. What does that one step, 1, 2, and 3 process kind of look like?
oh, sure. I would say we're going to communicate with you the entire time. We're here for you as a resource. The second part is that we're going to help provide security and the fact that that the purchase, that it's a good purchase, or if you're a seller, knowing that you have the right and the ability to sell your property in a timely fashion. Oftentimes people are kind of not necessarily in a rush, but they're trying to move on to the next thing. And so we have to make sure that we find any issues and get them cleaned up really, really quickly. And then lastly, providing that trust again and security through the insurance that we provide to them, so that if something ever does come up, they know that they can call me and say, hey, this thing has happened, and know that we're going to be there for them to take care of it and help them get through it. So
Hey, so this is our pre-planned interview questions today. So here comes the curveball. But this will
okay.
be fun. So what is the most commonly asked question that you get?
The most commonly asked question that I get, um, how much
So
does
I'm
it
putting I'm
cost?
putting him on the spot here. So just always
The
so,
no, the most common question we get is usually something around price, but outside of that, the most common question we get is are there any liens? Are you sure the property's clean? Are you sure that there's nothing that we have to worry about? That's the goal, and that's what everybody's concerned about. And so
okay.
that's usually the first thing we hear and the last thing we hear. Even at the closing table, we've already given them a commitment, and they ask again, "Are you sure there's nothing there's nothing we need to know
Yes,
about?"
okay.
And so,
Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the channel with us today, Jesse. And if somebody is in your area out in North Texas, how do they get a hold of you?
yeah, you can reach out to us anytime. Our website, cedarspringstitle.com. There's a contact form. Yeah, please reach out.
All right. Well, thank you again, Jesse, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.